All right, team. So, with regards to my last two videos, especially the most recent video where I was complaining about the differences between Colette 1 and Colette 2, I figured let's take some time to do a little bit of a deep dive. So, this is going to be a hardcore nerd video. We are going to jump into the cards themselves. We'll talk about the abilities for a little bit, compare and contrast, and I'll give you more reasoning why I think Colette 2 is just a better choice. We'll say, 95 out of 100 times, whereas Colette 1, I feel like she's struggling, and we want to look at this in detail. So let's go ahead and jump in the cards and have a look. So let's first look at Colette 1's crew card, and looking at that very first ability, dress rehearsal. So when you interact on the enemy table half, you gain a backtrack token. And on the surface, like, this seems pretty good, right? Because backtrack, what that allows you to do is, if you don't have any jokers in your duel, then you can just force a reflip before anybody cheats. That already sounds like a pretty powerful dueling ability. For me personally, it has not really paid off. Like I said, I've used probably 6 or 7, no, maybe a little bit more backtrack tokens over the few games that I've played, and not once has that actually resulted in a positive impact from the duel. That could be a me problem, so I'm willing to accept that. So having a look at the unique performer model ability, Showstopper, this is a signature action, so you can keep using it. However, it does cost you a soul stone, and it costs you a 6, which is pretty high. The nice thing about it is you have a 6-inch range on a marker, and you can teleport over to that marker, giving you the potential for almost like an 8-inch warp for a 6-inch soul stone, and you can interact. So you can interact, if it's an enemy marker, you can interact directly with that marker. You can actually just interact and score a scheme by slamming that on somebody else. So this can be a pretty powerful ability, but we'll get into why it's a little rough, because it costs you a soul stone and it costs you a 6. And as we go into the crew cards, both of those things are going to be maybe a little more scarce, especially for Colette 1 versus Colette 2. But at least for now, what these two things give you is they give you a little bit of dual control with the backtrack ability, and then this Showstopper ability gives you some great potential for scheme denial, for strategy achieval, even where your opponent is trying to muck up the board and trying to reduce your interactability. All right, so let's move over to Colette 2's ability. So her crew card, looking at smuggled soul stones. When you're on the other side of the opponent's half of the board, you take the interact action. You're going to gain a soul stone if you're at 4 or fewer soul stones. So that's pretty nice. So in the first card, you get a backtrack token. In this card, you get a soul stone for interacting on the other half of the board. You also have bribery. When this model activates, it may drain any number of soul stone and heal 1 for each soul stone drain. I don't think this is very good unless we're talking about a non-unique model. That seems like pretty expensive, so I have yet to use this. All right, so now let's get to the unique ability, Divert Attention. Again, signature action, costs you a soul stone, but hey, look, no target number, and you get to make a decoy marker in base contact with this model. Then you get to heal 2 and place within 4. This is super powerful, and again, we just saw that you can make your own soul stones by interacting on the opponent's half of the board, and then you get this, which is a 4-inch move, a decoy marker, and a heal for no card, for nothing. Meanwhile, when you look at Showstopper, what do you need? You need first a marker within 6. Then you need a soul stone, which you don't have the easiest way of replenishing. Then you need a 6. And a 6 is not a high number, but hey, all this stuff is going to add up when you think about your deck being a finite resource and those cards being important to you. So whereas Showstopper is might be something that you use once or twice per game because of how hard it is actually, Divert attention, I find myself spamming this ability sometimes because it's that good. Because sometimes you need the heal, sometimes you need the move, sometimes you need the decoy marker. It's good pretty much no matter what. We're going to quickly skip the stats because Colette 1 and 2 stat-wise are basically the same. One has higher defense, one has higher willpower. The defense one is Colette 1, which makes sense. You're going to want to keep her in combat. But anyways, let's move on to Colette 1's the bottom half of her front of card. Rehearse Duet. After suffering damage, this model can drain a soul stone. It then gets to place the model in base contact with a friendly model within 8, and then you can place the friendly model in base contact with the attacker. Pretty nice. It's not bad, especially you can have the Shadowlark come in and step in for you, and you get a free attack out of that more times than not. So that's not bad, but it does cost you a soul stone, and again, you're not getting at soul stones very often, and yeah. You also have to take damage, so whereas Colette 2 has an easy way of just gaining that heal with renewable soulstone resource, you don't have that option. And you remember Showstopper being so cool because you can take the interact action regardless of being engaged or whatever? Well, hey, guess what? Colette has this ability, Don't Turn Your Back, and if you start your activation engaged with this model, you don't get to declare the interact action. So hey, there's a cure for Showstopper, and guess what? Colette 1 isn't the only model that has it. So your cool signature ability for Colette 1 can be easily overridden with a simple ability like this. Okay, so having a look at Colette 2's front of card, Disguised. Hey, can't be charged. The version of Colette that doesn't want to be in combat can't be charged. That's a great ability. Vanishing Act. After this, resolving an enemy attack, targeting this model. Hold on. So wait. Colette 1's ability, she has to suffer damage. Colette 2's Vanishing Act, she only has to be targeted. She can drain a soul stone, again, much easier for her to get to. And then you get to place the attacker within 5 of its current location. Way stronger. I will take that any day of the week over a potential Shadowlark attack. That is so good. Being able to move your opponent, way more powerful. I'm sorry, better. Any day of the week. And finally, Smuggler's Secret. Remember how we said Colette 1 much better at denying schemes? Don't turn your back, you can't interact anymore. Guess what? This model, when it activates, it can just remove a scheme marker within 6. And it gets a card. Again, no target numbers, no interact required, just remove it. Alright, so let's look at Colette 1's back of card. Bedazzled's a great ability. Slow and Entranced at a skill 7 with a melee and a damage. Pretty good. Her signature move really, or I'll say her really thematic move here is Presto Changeo, which requires an 8. It's an 8-inch range. You can target allies with this to shoot them forward. And you can use a decoy marker, or in some cases, like I like to use the Arcane Fate for this because you need the plus. You can do some damage if it's an opponent, costing you a soul stone, or you can put a scheme marker out. Yeah, not bad, but again, costing an 8, and I realize it's a powerful ability, but we'll get back to that in a second. So moving over to the tactical actions, routine performance is a 5. You're going to want to take advantage of that because you have doves, because you have decoy markers, and your sleight of hand signature requires a 6, so you're going to need that to get those decoy markers out there. You can do hand out some entrance and maybe get a move out of it off of a trigger, but now you need a 6, a 5, and then an 8 if you really want the best version of Presto Changeo. That's a lot of wants. 6, 5, and 8, you're going to need 7s on your doves. If you're trying to make more doves, you're going to need 7s for the Shadowlark ability. You're going to need a 7 for Carlos's move. And you might need a 6 and a Soulstone for your crew ability. So, as you can see, your deck is strained. You're going to have to win those other duels, by the way, the regular fighting duels. You're going to have to win those. And you're thinking about, there's a finite number of 6+ in your deck. Yeah. So that's one of the issues here. Presto Changeo needing an 8. How reliable is that going to be? So Colette 1's crew is going to be fighting for cards. They're going to be fighting for soul stones. They're not going to have many heals. And yeah, it's going to be rough. Let's just say this stuff is, while really powerful, but think about all of the different target numbers you need on this crew. All right, so looking at Colette 2's back of card, double whammy. It's pretty decent. It's a decent ability. The deals damage twice is nice if you manage to get some raises off it, and it's got really good triggers, so it's okay. I mean, it's pretty. We'll say it's it's right there with Colette 1's melee ability. Phantasmal Prison, this is where it's interesting because it's a signature action, so you're either doing this or you're doing that cool guy crew move, but it's not bad. It's a range 8, 6 targeting willpower, does 2 damage, and then you get to make decoy markers, and it helps you, it could potentially get a scheme marker. Not the most powerful thing. Sometimes you're just going to be using the crew signature action. I find doing that a lot defensively, but sometimes getting this off, especially through the Arcane Fate, is quite nice. So one tactical action here, the French drop, only requires a 5, but you do have to be within 2 of the model, and it's got to be an ally only. And then you can place it in base contact with a decoy marker within 6. Now, you can make that decoy marker off your signature action, or the Shadowlark can make that decoy marker. This is where things get really powerful, because the Shadowlark can do that, place itself for a Soulstone, do an attack, and then on your activation, you can do the same thing. If you try to run the same play with Colette 1, it's feasible, but I just feel like the target number is harder, and getting things in place is just a little bit more difficult. You also have some great triggers with this. I love the Soulstone one because you can hand out a bunch of Entranced as you're bringing your troops in. Again, Colette 1, hey, she's supposed to be able to do that pretty easily, but you can just do it, like off of a Soulstone and a 5, which, again, Soulstone's much easier for you to get. So your crew is more functional. You can do interacts just like by moving them forward, so it's almost like Heartstopper, and then you can move this model as well. So that's just the Master and the Crew cards. I thought about going into the differences between the Doves and Angelica. I personally love Angelica because the ability to move 3 models with 6s is super, super nice. She's got Manipulative, she's got get them off the stage for a Soulstone. She can make decoy markers off 6s. Like, she's great. And, you know, I get it that the pigeons they extend the threat range significantly, but a lot of their action with their heal has never been that impressive. And suddenly Doves is great, but again, requires a 7. So Colette 1, like I said, across the board just requires more resources to use, is a little bit more resource restrained, and I just don't think it's that close. Colette 2, meanwhile, much more tankier, more durable, makes the crew more durable, has better access to Soulstones, decoy markers, and I think is just way easier to get into her playstyle and understand her playstyle, and I think she just accomplishes things in a simpler, more effective manner without fighting for too many cards, without like being completely strained, hoping to get another Soulstone here or there. I think part of the issue with the disparity here is that they have virtually identical hiring tendencies, so that's not a differentiator either. So maybe I'm missing the bigger picture, but hey, I'll leave it up to you guys. Do you think what am I missing here? Is this a bad take? Let me know in the comments. And again, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.